Hi Jim, it's Mike Newton here. Really thanks for sending your swing videos in. Apologies it took a little bit longer than I expected, just a few technical issues of getting the videos loaded on here, but I've done it a little bit of a long-winded way, but anyway it should come across quite fine for you to sort of view and look at. So again, thanks for sending video in. Enjoyed having a look at this. Obviously seeing your sort of issues maybe you're having here of maybe just different strikes, thins, fats maybe with the irons. I'm looking at the driver swings you sent as well, which I will have a look at just after this, which has gone through the iron. I'm guessing maybe with a drive you're seeing that little bit more of a left to right sort of ball flight shape, maybe some odd pulls in there. I'm not sure what your pattern's like with the iron, but obviously your issues are maybe a little bit more strike related. So we'll flick through the iron swing first. I'm going to show you a couple of little bits I maybe want you to sort of think about and maybe just alter slightly, which I feel is going to maybe just cause some issues on strike. So, looking at setup first, on the left-hand side, posture position looks really good. I think you get some really nice sort of positions here. You know, the arms are in that sort of hanging position. It's a really nice sort of spine angle you're creating there. Maybe one thing I'll just ask you to maybe feel here next time, or you can do this at home, is get into a setup position just before you're ready to pull the trigger to make the swing. It's just a feel where your body weight's dropping to your feet. It just looks a little bit like you're a little bit sort of maybe flat-footed there, or maybe slightly heels. Okay, I might be wrong there, but it just looks a little bit that way. So maybe I want you to get into a position what feels comfortable, and then just feel where that weight's going into your feet. Is it your heels? Is it a bit middles? Is it a little bit more balls of your feet? It definitely doesn't look very much toes, so I can't imagine you'd be feeling that. So maybe just sort of just question where that weight's dropping. We ideally want it being more sort of the balls of the feet, so you may just want to just slightly stand a touch further away, a little bit more maybe hinged towards the golf ball, and that'll just subtly change that weight position, which will give you a little bit more, make you a little bit more efficient coming through the whole swing in terms of weight shift, etc. Looking on the right hand side here, we do have, obviously you probably noticed this yourself, quite an aggressive sort of forward press position here, okay, and what that can do, it can just sacrifice your club face position a little bit here. If I just try and move this video up a little bit, okay, I mean the camera angle's a little bit behind here, so but the club face looks a little bit open, so as you push your hands forward, you'll twist that club face in a slightly open position. Now if you were to twist that back to square with the hands forward like that, then you're going to create quite a closed position, and I imagine you're going to miss quite a lot of shots left of target. Okay, so you might be reluctant to sort of square that club face up here. So I would want to probably just get these hands a little bit more neutral, because it twists that upper body a little bit here. You know, there's the legs, upper body looks a little bit twisted. This V gets a bit more sort of like forward. It's like I need to move to my right hand side to get square onto your upper body there. So I just want to maybe get those hands a little bit more, maybe that position there, just inside left sort of thigh, and not get that shaft as aggressively pushing forward. Okay. Let's have a little look at takeaway. Okay, so there's top of the backswing there. So rotation-wise is pretty good. I'm just going to move this side on here. Maybe what you'll see on this side is, I'm going to stop it here, is the club just gets whipped a little bit behind the hands. Okay, so arm position is pretty good, but can you see how we're generating quite a big angle here quite early in the golf swing here. So again, this is a lot related to that forward press. Okay, so I want to try and generate you to, or promote you to try and keep that club head a little bit more connected to the hands and that left arm at this position. So we can see the line of your feet there, obviously your target line is there, then I want to try and get that shaft a bit more matching your arm line. So all these lines are running more parallel. That club head just gets a little bit whipped behind you. So I just maybe want you to try and feel like you're hinging more to keep that relationship of shaft and arm a little bit longer during that takeaway. So because of that little angle there, as we move this on, we get to a position here where the club gets a little bit what we call flat. Now the hands are in a good position in relation to the core of your body, they're pretty central here, But if I again run a line down that shaft, you can see how that points quite a bit over the top of your, or past your golf ball basically. Ideally I'd like to get that a little bit more towards your golf ball, so that's the sort of angle I'd like to get that shaft on. So that first bit of hinging will help to create this second phase here and get that club a little bit more on plane. Okay, so as we get up to the top of the backswing, okay, so there's the top of the backswing position. So in regards to club face, obviously the grip's not a bad position, is matching that arm position quite nicely there. So you're controlling club face angle here, which is good. Again, what I'd maybe just question is a little bit of, I would like to generate a little bit more freedom. So what I see here is that right upper arm, you can see it's quite tucked in there with your upper body. Okay, which gets these hands to stay quite, what I would say, quite low. See, the hands are only just level with the top of that shoulder. I'd just like to get them a little bit more, a little bit higher if you could, which you'll feel that across your core body. You'll feel that around your, you know, sort of around this area here, as you just lift those hands a little bit higher. But maybe just want to get that that upper arm just a little bit higher, a little bit more freer from that upper body. Okay, again I'm just going to move this one up to the top here. So as you would do that, okay, I just want you to also feel like you're turning your body weight a little bit more into that right thigh. Okay, so it's not a sway, it's not a lateral movement. I just want you to feel like you're going to rotate around that right thigh. Okay, now this probably sounds like there's a lot of little fiddly pieces here, but this is maybe a process I want you to go through, Jim, when you're on the practice ground. You should maybe just work on a couple of these bits and then start to drip in the other aspects. And you know, if you go and stand there and try and do all this at once, it's going to be very difficult. So I think starting off maybe working on the setup position, hit some balls just purely working on that, reducing that real aggressive push there, a little bit think about where the weight's in the feet, then start to think of that takeaway, start the hinging process. I'm going to do another little clip later on here for you to watch, and then, you know, start to drip these other little thoughts sort of in there as you're going through, and this might be over a period of 2 or 3, 4 sessions on the practice ground. Okay, now through impact here, apologies about this delay in the frames here, this is just my system's not quite catching up here and syncing it all. It looks pretty good coming through. Now obviously you complain of some strike issues here of catch it a little bit heavy, catch it a little bit thin. Again, I think this process of the backswing will help on that, a little bit higher with the hands on that backswing, and you don't get it in a bad position on the way down. So I'm sort of guessing when you're striking your irons well, you're probably controlling the shot direction and hitting them fairly straight, not too much shape, I'm guessing. Maybe one thing I would say, I would like to try and get a little bit more sort of rotation in that lower body coming through, just to try and open that body up a little bit more. So a good way to really think of that is to try and feel like this right knee's driving into the left knee a little bit earlier, which will get that left hip clearing more behind you, coming through impact, and that will help to control your strike a little bit more on your low point. Okay, good way to think of strike is imagine you're swinging this club on that sort of massive sort of circle. Now obviously this circle's going to be bigger here as you're swinging it, but the point I'm sort of getting to is the low point. Okay, if I move this on a little bit, or move this out of the way, somewhere about there. So the low point wants to be sort of just after the golf ball, just past the golf ball. So effectively the club's still travelling fractionally down as you make contact, and this is where we're going to get some real crisp strikes and pure strikes with the iron out on the golf course. That more of that ball turf strike that we always sort of work for, and we see a lot of the golf pros do. So it's being aware of where that bottom of the arc is, okay, and how high or low the bottom of the arc is, because obviously if this circle dropped down, then the low point of the arc is quite a bit under the ground, so chances are you're going to hit some fat shots. If that low point is up, then you're not going to bottom out, and you're going to hit, you know, maybe halfway up the golf ball, and you've got some thin shots in there. At the same time, if this bottom of the arc moves left to right, then again it creates the same issues of fats and thins. So it's maybe just working on maybe putting a good little drill for you here. Maybe do this on a mat if you can. Is put a little bit of masking tape down, Okay, and your ball would be just sat maybe an inch or so in front of that masking tape. Okay, so the target side of that tape, so basically the tape's behind the golf ball, and I want you to strike some shots and do not interact with that tape. So that will reduce those heavy shots. I think if you start to build in this rotation, that will subtly move you onto that left side a little bit early, which will move that low point accordingly. And I'm guessing you're going to get some better contacts with those irons. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to the driver swing now for you, Jim. Right, Jim, let's have a quick look at the driver then. So let's just get you into setup for this on. So same thing applies with this forward press here, Jim, because it basically, I don't know what loft driver you use, but whatever you're using, you're taking a lot of that loft off at setup. And again, this affects this first section of this takeaway where the club just gets, there we go, you can see that same issue there, the club just working a little bit behind you. Okay, so same things apply to what we've talked about with the iron. Now what I see a little bit more with the driver, again, is it flattens that shaft plane out there, okay, but what I sort of see more here is if I get this sort of line, maybe, let me just do that a little bit better. So there's that driver shaft line here. Then as you get to the top of the backswing, again, look how tight that shaft is. It looks like it's nearly touching that right shoulder. How tight this arm is again down that side of the body. So again, let's generate some height. The fact that you haven't got any room here, the hands now make a bit of a different movement. And because you've got driver, longer shaft, it's always that little bit harder. And obviously you're going to be hitting this a bit harder than your irons. Then this club sort of works. You can see how it starts to, oops, sorry, wrong line. So it starts to steepen off here, but the hands, more importantly, the hands are now in front of your body at this stage of the golf swing. Okay, so ultimately you've swung these hands out in front of you too early. Okay, I would like to try and keep these hands a bit more behind you for longer. Okay, so what happens here is that alters your swing path. So as it comes down, the club gets thrown to the right, so you can see the club heads to the right of the golf ball there now. So you're now forced to swing in this club across your target line. There's the line of your feet. You can see you're going to swing left here, and then we can also then see the club exits very low in the body. So you really swing that club across the golf ball and swinging it left of target. Now this actual shot here, I can just about see golf ball. There's the ball there. And there. Okay, so that ball is starting where, yeah, so there it is there. It's starting left, isn't it? So it's looked like a little bit of a heely shot. So again, I'm going to question here, where do you feel you strike the golf ball with the driver? If it's maybe a bit of a pattern from heel to middle to high toe, classic example of coming a little bit across the golf ball. So if you're hitting heel, you're going to create some shots which they start left and then they're going to curve back to target. Might be okay, but obviously it's a very weak flight. You're going to lose a lot of distance. If you hit the middle of the club face and the face is pointing at target, you're going to hit somewhere they start fairly straight, but then again they're going to peel off quite a bit right of target. Now if anything where you close the club face on swing left, you're going to get the ones where the ball literally just pulls straight left of target. Okay, so it's a little bit of a mixture of results that you can experience because of path and face relationship. So working with this driver, again, same things as the iron here. That first section, get a little bit more height at the top of that backswing if you can, and then I want you to then feel like you're going to, so you're going to feel like these hands now sort of drop more down and come under this way, as opposed to working out and over. Okay, and we've got to keep this club head here. We've got to keep it more behind you this way. Okay, so ultimately this is going to feel like you will swing the club quite a bit to the right of target. Okay, now if you can square the club face up and swing in to the right, you're going to turn, you know, those little cuts or try and reduce those pulls, but you're going to turn more into little draws in relation to sort of target. Same thing applies with the setup here. Turn around that right side. Okay, a little bit more height here, a bit more rotation through. Okay, but I'll tell you what, Jim, it's not a bad goal swing for, I think, sorry, I'm just checking your notes, you might have said you 22 handicap, I think you said. Apologies if I've got that wrong, it might have been 12, maybe I might have overread that, sorry. But anyway, you've got some good movements in there. Okay, I don't think you're a million miles away. Again, what's your short game like? You know, is that somewhere where you may be losing a few shots? But I think you definitely control that ball flight. So what I'm going to do now, Jim, I'm just going to flick over to maybe a different video here. I'm going to sort of demonstrate some movements I want you to sort of work on, which hopefully you can take to the practice ground and, you know, make some improvements. Okay, Jim, so let's just give you some visuals of what I would like you to sort of work on when you're on that practice ground. So we're talking a little bit about setup first. Okay, so what I want to try and reduce is obviously that real big sort of lean forward, because that can sometimes sacrifice shoulder position. But what we've maybe seen with yourself here is it's sacrificing that face position. So if I was to get a little bit closer to the camera here, there's what I would say a square club face. If I push handle forward, can you see how that can open the blade up a little bit? Okay, so that might just sacrifice that sort of face position here. So let's try and get away from that real forward press and let the hands sort of sit what to you will feel very central. So you're going to feel like the butt of the golf club, if you were to extend it, it's like straight into the middle of your like your belly button in a way. Okay, so what we could do here to get a feel is actually place the club into that belly button. I'll get a little bit closer here, can you see this? Okay, and then grip down the shaft. And then you start to see where those hands are positioned. The hands are positioned now just inside my lead thigh. Okay, so if I was to push that forward with a handle, I can't because that's wedged in there. But if I was, you can see how that handle now pokes out to the left of my sort of body. Okay, and how that triangle of my arms has shifted forward. Let's get that into the middle, and you can probably see from this picture here how much more neutral my arms are in relation to the body. So my arms are quite square in relation to the squareness of my legs. Okay, so maybe use that as a quick little drill there. So talking about that first section of the backswing. So what we saw here, Jim, was as we took it away, the club sort of worked a little bit behind us. So we generated this angle of the arm and the shaft of the golf club. That club head just gets behind here. So what I want to try and do is get that club head a little bit more that way, so it's married up more to the hands as you would look at it from this camera position. Okay, so it's like an extension of my arm, okay, but it's running parallel with my feet line and my ball to target line. So to try and achieve that comes more from how we work these wrists. Okay, so ultimately I want you to try and feel like you're hinging the wrist more, so you can see how the angle I'm getting here, I'm setting the wrist a little bit more, or a little bit earlier should I say, and when you look at it from this angle, when I do that hinge, okay, you can see that club head now is more in relation with my left arm, and it's not back this way. Okay, I think this is golf swing is very much a chain of events, and this is the first few links in this chain. If we can hit that position, okay, then for me that you'll be able to get it up to the top and start to get this upper right arm away from your body. Okay, because what we're seeing there was tucked in and quite a sort of tight cramped position at the top of the backswing. Okay, and that's going to make room or generating room on the downswing quite difficult. Now it looked like you did quite well with the iron there. Driver, you could see that the hands then sort of moved out in front of you, and then that created you to swing left target. Okay, and obviously with the driver, it's a lot harder to sort of control your sort of ball flight. So, like I say, if we can get that first section here, then from here I want you to feel like you get the hands a little bit higher. Okay, and as you do that motion there, you can see how I get my hands higher than my right shoulder. You'll feel a bit more tightness here now. Maybe just question if you've got any back issues here, just maybe be careful doing this, or if you've got any rotational or injury issues in the upper body, then just be careful of doing this. But if you haven't, then you know what you're going to experience is maybe a little bit of a tighter feeling down this left hand side here in your core. But basically that's a good thing because you're coiling that upper body against that lower body. Okay, so as you would talking about sort of downswing here, maybe this is more with the driver, but I think still do this with the iron, because again the swing should be the same here for all the golf clubs, is to try and change that swing path. Okay, so what we saw before, because we were quite tight, the hands then wanted to go for the room, and the room's all out here because there's no room here because you're tight in there. So the arms had to go out in front of you, and that sacrificed your swing path. So hopefully when you get into this sort of higher position here, you generate a lot more room under these arms, okay? And it's this room now where I want you to feel like you're going to swing the club into to try and neutralise that plane off. So good visual here for you to think about is, imagine when you're going up, it's just trying to picture this hand position here. So whatever line you're going up on, you're going to try and work it under that line on the way down. So it's a bit like you're flattening the swing out on the downswing. Now what we saw with yourself, because of that club getting behind, was you had a flatter plane line backswing, and then you went steeper on the downswing. Okay, and again that can move your strike ball, that low point that I talked about earlier. Okay, so what I want you to try and do here is probably do the opposite. Feel, because you're hinging and you're keeping this connection of the club and the arm, is you'll get the shaft line a little bit maybe steep on the backswing, and then as you work it under, is you're going to feel like it's flattening a little bit more on the downswing. If you can do that and get rotating through, you will change your swing path quite quickly. Okay. Now how you change your face in relation to that is a little bit of trial and error as you go along working on that path. So I'm not saying you're just going to instantly hit some straight pure golf shots here. It's going to take a little bit of work on this, Jim, working on that sort of path. But if you can match your club face up to the squarer path, you're going to hit some balls which will start on target more and hold the line on target a little bit longer as well. Okay. Again, thanks for sending your video swing in here. I do appreciate it, and I've enjoyed having a little look at that and doing this video for you, and hopefully this will help. Now, I'm going to send this over on a link to you, so do save the emails, and then you can always watch this future, down the line, because you can only watch this through the link I'm going to email you. So do save the email so you can watch it in the future. Have a work on this. Give it a couple of weeks working on it, or whatever time restraints you've got, with work and everything else. Get some range sessions done. And then maybe just drop me an email, just let me know how you're getting on with it. If you've got any questions, again, don't hesitate, just find me an email. I'm more than happy to sort of answer any questions. And if you did want to send me another little video just for me to have a quick look at, I'm more than happy to do so. Thanks again, Jim. Good luck with this, and hopefully we'll catch up soon.